Hi, my name is Nathan, and today we're going to discover the true origins of Erica Slaughter from Something is Killing the Children, issues number 16 through 20. Link in description if you wish to purchase any of the issues from this comic book. Support the art, support the industry. Not to mention, this is going to be a Netflix show at the end of 2022, I believe. But here is the true origins based on the comic book, Something is Killing the Children of Erica Slaughter. Timestamps will be in description if you wish to go from issue to issue. With that being said, let's get to it. In this issue, we begin with Erica, young 12-year-old Erica Slaughter, laying over her dead mother's body. The dialogue is Jessica arguing with somebody over the phone about bringing Erica on board to their house of slaughter. But she doesn't know that at the time. She's basically 12. We can't just leave her here. She killed a monster on her own. And Erica's just in this state of distraught, not really stressed. It's like a blank stare. Like, what emotion can you process when you've done so much already? You killed a freaking monster that killed your mom and your sister and your parents. So it turns out Jessica's arguing with Cecilia over the phone. Like, you can't just bring a young girl here into our society, into our secret society. Does she even have a totem? Which we'll further discover what that totem is. And it's like, yes, it's that octopus. After ongoing arguing, Jessica hangs up the phone and looks at Erica. She's like, hey, you did really, really good, girl. Yeah? Oh, better than I've ever seen. Erica's like, cool. And then Erica asks her, what did you do to Octo? Well, you know the thing that was in here, that big monster killing everyone? Yeah, your mom, your dad, and Becca. Well, now it's in there, and it can't kill anybody else. And Erica's like, oh, and Octo's just rattling around because that monster is pissed. Jessica tells her, don't touch it, but do you have any Tupperware? Something like a bowl with the top on it to put Octo in? And Erica's like, I think in the corner. Get the Tupperware. Put Octo in that Tupperware. Hush, you little thing. And Octo's just rattling around in there. And then Jessica gives Erica a choice. Listen, this is all going to be very scary. None of it's fair, but your mom and dad are ever coming back. You need to know that. And obviously, she's looking at her dead mom just, you know, it's got to be some stuff to see as a 12-year-old. But there's another option. So I'm going to give you two options, Erica. Option number one, you can wait for child services to get here and go with them. Or option number two is there are more things like that creature that hurt a lot of kids. But most of those kids, they don't know how to fight back, just like what I saw you did. And it was great what you did. You killed a big monster on your own. So I thought, what if instead of leaving you behind, what if I brought you home with me, taught you how to fight things like that monster, and kill them before they have a chance to hurt any other kids or their parents? What do you say? Would you like that, Erica? She's like, yes, I think so. I'll go with you. She's like, good. Now my people are going to make sure that the police don't come until we want them to come. That just goes to show you how powerful and how many strings this society can pull. So pack your things to remember your parents by. Say goodbye. We got a long drive ahead of us. And then when she gives Erica a hug, well, maybe you should take a shower. You stink, hun. That's a callback to issue number 1 right there. So we get a flashback of Erica in her home with Becca running, and Becca is begging for Erica, don't let it get to me. Please don't let it get to me. Erica grabs her arm, pulls her as if they're trying to get away. Let's hide together. I got you, sister. And just blood splat all over Erica's face as we can only imagine off screen or off frame that this monster just devoured the lower half of Becca. And that's trauma right there. So during this long drive, Jessica tells Erica to wake up. You slept through the night. It's morning. We're in Chicago. We should be there soon. So they talk about the buildings are very tall. It's like New York, but I've been to Chicago before. Chicago is a lot cleaner than New York. But hey, you know what? I am not bagging New York at all. That's just observation. Anyway, so let's go back to the comic book. So Jessica tells her Chicago has really good aquariums, not like the Statue of Liberty that you're seeing in New York. So they have a talk, and Erica reveals that she's rather perceptive because she's able to pick up that Jessica's nervous. And Jessica tells her about that. And you're smart, kid. Well, I didn't get good grades in school. And Jessica tells her, well, good grades don't mean you're smart. Good grades just mean you're good at following direction. And I didn't get good grades either. So Erica's like, cool, they bond over that. But I'm nervous because the place I'm going to take you to, it could be a little scary. There's bullies, they're hunters and trained, and it's going to be hard. And it's not going to be fair. Did your parents teach you any kind of etiquette? And the kind of etiquette, Erica's like, well, I know how to eat with the fork. No, you have to know which fork to eat with. Salad fork, dinner fork. And because these people are fancy, they're going to expect you to know the rules. And because you don't know the rules, they're going to be bullies to you, and it's not going to be fair. So I'm just letting you know things in here are going to be harsh. They're going to be angry just because you're an outsider, so they're going to treat you like crap. It isn't fair, but you'll be able to figure out. Do you know why you'll be able to figure out and beat them, Erica? Erica's like, because I'm perceptive. That's right, girl, because you are perceptive. They pull up to the house of Slaughter. Aaron, young Aaron Slaughter, just looks at him, hands on his waist like, who is she? Who is this up in my house? Get over it, Aaron, grab her bag. This is gonna be your new roommate. This is gonna be your sister. I don't want a sister. Tough luck, kid. Get the bags, bring her in. She introduces herself and Aaron's just like, man, good for you. I ain't trying to hear all that. So Erica asks, is he one of the bullies? And Jessica tells her, yes, he just pretends to be because the bullies bully him. Well, can I bully him? Oh yeah, cool. Just that friendly banter with Jessica and Erica about bullying Aaron, but do it in a cool way. That's cool. Now Cecilia, this bitch just comes up in here like, nah, how dare you, can't bring it straight. She calls Erica straight and you can't bring her here until she's initiated. And they're like, are you freaking kidding me? We had a long drive, I drove from 10 hours. And Cecilia, have a little bit of sympathy here. This kid just watched her parents die last night. She's still in shock. Well, we already are bending the rules for strays. And then Erica's like, well, is she one of the bullies? And Jessica's tone and that stare, I was like, oh yes, she absolutely is. The rules of this house is you gotta be initiated, which now they're just gonna fast track Erica's initiation to tomorrow. And because of the rules of the house is you gotta wear the mask around the house at all times, and the teeth on your mask is when you earned your stripes, which we later figure out in issue number 19 or 20, that you earned your teeth on your mask when you can kill a monster on your own. But for now, Erica will be wearing the black mask, which is a hunting mask, but without teeth because she has to earn her stripes yet. And her initiation gonna start tomorrow, and we will know what that initiation is in the next issue. And I got to say, awesome read, awesome start, compelling, horrifying, and just what a 12-year-old girl can do this. But I could buy the emotional blankness because she went through so much. How can you process that? And now you're up and left peck your stuff. You're gonna learn to kill monsters by tomorrow. Let's get on to issue number 17. In this comic book, we discover Erica Slaughter's origin and how she was initiated in the House of Slaughter. We start off with Erica sitting and waiting to be initiated, and she hears a little roar come out of this Tupperware box or whatnot. Aaron, who seems to be jealous about Erica wanting to be recruited, tells Erica that she is supposed to pass a test before being initiated into the House of Slaughter. Aaron added a little salt to the wound and tells Erica anyone and everyone who is good enough gets in by passing the test. You can tell Erica's a little nervous about this. Then, to add more salt on top of being salty, he tells Erica if they let you stay, it's only because Jessica felt sorry for you. This hits a nerve with Erica. She strikes Aaron in his Netherlands. I could only imagine him screaming like a boy, of course. Then the adults come in and some dialogue exchange, and now Aaron and Erica are taken to the sanctuary in the House of Slaughter. Erica is told that the only people with the key are people that are branch of the family. Erica is told that no matter how bad it gets out there, she'll be okay in the sanctuary. So it's like they're giving her a home already without passing a test. Aaron, being petty, ain't pleased about that, and a clapback moment is told, if you don't watch your mouth, I'm gonna let Erica kick you again. Putting her hands on his shoulder, she tells Aaron that Erica watched her best friend and her parents die yesterday, and she's going through a lot. She asked Aaron to turn the petty down a notch. Erica asked where she has to go through tomorrow. What's the initiation all about? But she's told, but that question is brushed off, and we'll get to that later. Erica gets introduced to Adelaide. Despite her creepy looks, Homegirl was trained by Adelaide, and it's later discovered that her creepy look is a result of memories from her past. Erica gets talked about the initiation. Erica is told the biggest secret in the world is that monsters are real and they hunt and eat children. The second biggest secret in the world is there are people who fight these monsters, and we call ourselves St. George and the Dragon. Erica is asked if she knows the story, and she says no. So the story goes like this. A long time ago, a town was attacked by a dragon, and the town had to keep feeding the dragon their children to stop it from destroying the town. And ultimately, the leader of the town had to send his own daughter to the dragon to be eaten. But then St. George shows up and binds the dragon to his will. He takes the dragon to the town and makes them all swear an oath to God. And once they do, he kills the dragon once and for all. He taught the people in that town how to fight back against the monsters, and the oath was made for it to keep secret by the means of killing the monsters, and the existence of the monsters is secret from the world. Erica is told that she wants to be in the order, she's going to have to swear to the same oath. No matter how scared she gets, Erica's gonna have to keep the secret and cannot reveal it no matter what. Obviously, Erica promised because, well, why not? What are you gonna do in that situation? Especially as a nervous kid, scared kid. It seems easy to just keep the secret, but Erica is warned in an eerie way that it's not that simple. They're going to make you very scared, and they're going to try very hard to make you talk, but you need to keep this a secret. Nothing more can really say more on it. I love the eeriness and the open for interpretation behind it. Now, I love how in this part of the book, you can tell a child that dealt with a traumatic incident. If she's going to survive the initiation, the grand prize is you get a tattoo mark. And oh, by the way, that's going to hurt too. Then Jessica places her octopus on the mantle to talk to the other animals, and we get to know which animal belongs to who. I'll leave some meat on the bone if you guys decide to buy the comic. Link in description, by the way. This is by far the most interesting 2 pages of the comic. It's creepy without trying too much. It's authentically tense, and I wanted more dialogue from Jessica and the other person. Not to mention, as welcoming as Jessica is with Erica Slaughter being initiated in the House of Slaughter, she also has her doubts, and this only strengthens the intrigue. Bad woman, but great storytelling. Once we see Erica Slaughter having a nightmare, reliving the trauma and her best friend being eaten and the mom being ripped in half. Oh my God, this book knows how to hit you with it. Erica wakes up and Aaron is on her bed with his hands on his chin. In his redemption moment, he gives Erica some pointers on how to pass the test tomorrow. Just like Pennywise the dancing clown. That was horrible. That's my own add to the book. That's not the book. Aaron tells Aaron some of it's real and the other is in your head. The monsters feed off your fear, and try not to get too afraid. If you do, the monster will get stronger. The less afraid you are, the monsters can't get stronger. What the heck are you supposed to say to that? Not to mention he apologized for being mean to her, and he has no siblings and the other kids suck and they're mean, so try not to die. That's what he tells her. The other kids suck and I have no siblings, so just please don't die. I love Erica's levity and clapback with I'm young and mean though. And I love how she's confident, makes a promise to not die without knowing what you are exactly going to be dealing with tomorrow. I mean, you do and you don't. Wow. So we start off in the morning. This guy wakes up at 6 a.m. I don't know who he is just yet, but I imagine he has something to do with Erica's initiation that's supposed to happen later today. He showers, goes to the kitchen. Nice kitchen, by the way. The HGTV help you out with that? And gets himself some coffee. This brother does have the right idea on starting a morning just right. He goes outside his mansion on a beautiful morning and tells his butler with the cool mask on to find out how many monkeys is needed to release into the wild for a decent breeding population to get going in the Midwest of the United States. Very odd request to me, but hey, I'll read along. A red car pulls up and it's Jessica and Erica. I knew this guy had something to do with the initiation. They hug it out. They haven't seen each other for a while. Turns out this burly guy name is Gary Slaughter, and he introduces himself to Erica. Everything seems too cool when the man offers you eggs and bacon right before the initiation, but hey, you can't do this on a full stomach. And you know what the ladies say, a girl's gotta eat. We have more character building dialogue between Erica and Gary, but I will leave some meat on the bone with you guys in case you decide to buy the book. Link in description, by the way. Later, Gary reveals that his home is more than just a farm. It's the kind of place to do the kind of training we can't get away with in the city. Erica's shocked and asks if by training you mean fight monsters? Does that mean you keep monsters here too? Jessica tries to ease Erica in by saying some things you're just not ready for, but Gary casually answers, yeah, we keep monsters here too. He tells Erica to use the bathroom before they begin training as it'll be a long day. Or it might be so scary you might pee yourself. The bar's never been so eerie, and today in this book is no exception. The dogs and the wind blowing her hair in here definitely establishes the tension and the foreshadowing that is about to happen. Before Erica's training, Jessica tells her, okay, I can't go in with you, but Gary's gonna help you start things off, but you are on your own. She gives Erica some words of encouragement and some advice. Take care, he's gonna ask what your name is. You're going to tell him that you have no name. Then he's going to ask if you have a totem, and you're going to give him Octo. Oh man, I can't wait to see this translated into a TV show. When she walks into the barn, it's dark, and Octo lets out a little roar. Okay, you get the point. As she enters deeper into the darkness, Gary is there with different attire, yellow eyes indicating something is about to go down. Step into the circle, he says. He tells Erica, you have been chosen for induction into the Order of St. George. What is your family name? Erica listens to Jessica's instruction and says, I don't have a name. Good, Gary says. Hunters have no family. Do you have a totem? Erica hands over Octo and places him on the altar. Gary senses and asks if there is something inside of Octo. Erica says yes. Gary deduces that it wronged you and sent you down this path. Yes, says Erica. Do you remember what it did? Can you hold it in your memory? Yes, says Erica. Do you remember its eyes, child? We go into Erica's memory where her parents were devoured by a giant shadow creature while she hid in the closet. But she had the special sight, and so she grabbed the knife, and with the creature not invisible to her, she slashed it up and left it half dead. Now, somehow it's supernaturally stored in the octopus, Octo, all this time. I believe Erica's been using this, carrying it with her, the very thing that killed her parents, as a way to motivate her or something. But back to the deal. Gary says Octo protected you, and now it carries a monster in its chest, and it will determine whether you're worthy of protection. Is let out. Gary hits something that supernaturally triggers, and this oversized shadow monster emerges from Octo and lets out a menacing roar after being locked and stored in Octo. Why do I get the feeling that this wasn't supposed to happen, and this should have been much more contained since you're dealing with initiating a child? Even Gary knew something was up with his response there. This is by far executed very well in terms of storytelling and very impactful. Poor Erica, as this looks to be way too much to handle. Even Gary knew that and voiced his displeasure to Jessica. Though, I'm curious to see how this turns out. We do know from previous issues that Erica ultimately survives this. And her initiation journey of how she gets there from child to monster slaughter or whatnot is very compelling and fascinating. And this book is definitely well worth the read. I'm going to say this book is a perfect 10. 10 out of 10. Aces in my book. It was just, I have nothing to add or nothing to subtract from that. We begin with Aaron sleeping peacefully before waking up to a sharp knife on his face, with a voice telling him to be very still. I can only imagine this being said with sarcasm. Did you know that your eyes are filled with jelly? Do you think it'll taste good on toast? It's twin sisters Tybalt and Paris teasing Aaron while sleeping for what it seems to be no apparent reason. At least at this moment. This calls back to issue number 17 when Aaron gives Erica Slaughter pointers on how to pass the test and tells her that the kids here are kind of mean to him. They tease Aaron about having skid marks on his underwear and show dominance by leaving a cut in his face. Just for the simple reason that he takes everything personal. They find it fun. You almost feel bad for the kid when he tears up in a house they train kids to kill monsters in. To add salt to the wound, these girls tease Aaron about his rank being a black mask. If he was a white mask, he'd have to cry in front of a whole pack. What a way to belittle, and to add a little bit more petty to it for good measure. They know about Erica being sent to Gary's farm for training, which they believe she was food for Gary's dog. This is a callback to the last issue, issue number 18. Aaron yells that Erica almost killed an Oscar type by herself, bigger than these girls have ever faced. He believes that Erica is alive. If Erica did survive, which come on, we as the readers know she did, now it's going to eat her mind from the inside out. Compelling writing. Cecilia walks in the room and tells the girls to get to training after asking Aaron if he's hurt, and clearly he's affected by this ordeal and tells Cecilia no. Aaron asks her if Erica made it out alive. You can tell by her response that it's cold and tells Aaron if she made it out alive, we'll welcome her. If not, then you get to help clean up the mess. We get a glimpse of Erica in the shed where her initiation took place. She's still lying there with Octo in a deep sleep, if you will. In Erica's dark and greedy dream state, she's reliving the event when her mom was murdered by the Oscar type and walks in with fists tightly clutched and with purpose. She goes into the kitchen and sees this black horrific mess eating her parents up like a Las Vegas buffet. She stands in horror, takes it all in with her mother and father being devoured while remaining motionless. This is some trauma here, and that paints a picture that we can feel what Erica's going through. As this thing keeps on grubbing on Daddy, Erica grabs the knife and slash makes a cut in that monster, and that monster lets out a scream indicating the amount of pain it's in. Erica goes in to finish him like a Mortal Kombat fatality, slips and falls in the blood. When the monster gets on top of her, about to make Erica his next meal or her next play at the Vegas buffet, she comes in with a surprise knife attack to his face. You go, girl. I suppose in our dreams, trauma takes on different shapes and forms. Now, Erica's mother wakes up from being half-eaten, I guess, and tells Erica to go get the neighbors and tell them to call the police. Erica questions if her mom is still alive, and she responds with, "Go!" Erica sprints like a track star up out of there and then makes it outside. She stops and she remembers what Aaron told her on issue number 17 about the test. Some of it's real and some of it's in your head. The monsters feed on your fear. If you don't let yourself get too afraid, the monsters can't hurt you too bad. Then Erica remembers what Jessica told her in the previous issue. If you want to be in the order, you're going to need to swear to the oath. No matter what happens and no matter how scared you are, you can't reveal the truth. Erica can't reveal the secret. You can check out the review for more on that and link in description if you do decide to get the comic. Erica realizes this isn't real because this is not how it happened. Oversized Octo confirms Erica's assessment with a yes as he envelops the entire house. Essentially what's happening here is Oversized Octo, which I believe is like a manifestation of the Oscar type, wants to remove the part of Erica's memory where she killed the monster. Just because it isn't real doesn't mean it can't hurt, responds Giant Octo Ghost. Erica gets ready to go back inside because now that she knows what she knows, that it's not that scary because she's not giving into it, Erica goes back inside to wait for Jessica. The monster in the form of an octopus asks Erica if she wants to save her mother. She knows she can't because she's already dead since the giant mofo ate her. Erica enters the house and Giant Octo tells Erica, go get help. You can still save them. Erica's like, I'm not listening to you anymore. I was right here and my mom wasn't. She didn't say anything to me because she was dead and I stabbed you in the eye. And Erica recounts her memory and then the door kicks in. Jessica's there with her black mask on, stabs you in the neck. I slip and fall, I get knocked down, you scream in pain, and Jessica fought you and she was hurting you. I finally felt safe for a second, like I might not die in this moment. I saw Octo laying on the ground and I closed my eyes and hugged him, waiting for it to be all over. Jessica asks Erica, is that yours? What? Yes, it's hers. She tells Erica to hand me the stuffed animal. I hugged Octo tighter than ever, give him a goodbye kiss, handed it to Jessica. She started talking to it in another language I never heard before. Jessica's eyes glow up. You were angry, but you weren't strong enough to fight back against her, and you went into Octo where you couldn't hurt nobody else no more. Then it was over. That's how it happened. Do you know what happens next? Octo's like, no, you killed my mom and my dad and Becca. Do you feel sorry? Octo's like, nah, man, you know, it's a Vegas buffet. I got to eat. And then Erica shows her inner strength and just recounts the memory, and she passes the test when everyone else thought she failed. But I just want to add, trauma has become a frequently used term these days, especially in fiction and when talking about fiction. We use trauma as a way to identify with the character to help us process past traumas we've experienced. At the same time, every trauma is unique. How could it not be? As every person experiencing that trauma is also unique. Erica Slaughter's trauma is her own. It is a trauma I can't identify with on a personal level, but I do know about the temptation of pretending like a trauma didn't happen. I know what that can do to a person. I also know what embracing a trauma and growing stronger by recognizing it can also feel like. Erica has a choice in this issue, and she makes that choice, and she makes it like a gangster. Now we begin this issue with Erica Slaughter's initiation and how she became the monster killer she is today. We continue on from the last issue where it is presumed by Gary and Jesse that Erica Slaughter is dead, and Jesse got drunk and she just does not know how to get in her feelings. Gary thinks to tell Jesse, you know, go easy on yourself, it's okay. And she's like, you're not in the field. I've watched these kids get killed and eat by something unthinkable. And then when I show up and they see me show up, they think they've been saved, and the look in their eyes, it kills me every time. And it changes when they realize, and she just has a moment of breakdown. And I believe her breakdown moment is when they show up to rescue these kids from killing the monsters, they recruit them to become part of the House of Slaughter. And when that happens, either do they live to have resentment for her, or do they die trying to get initiated? So Gary goes in for the rescue, and she's just like, I can't take it anymore. And Gary's like, look, you know how this works. We're more efficient than ever before. And when she's like, yeah, but with these kids getting initiated, when we recruit them after killing these monsters and saving them, we do that because there's less of a chance of the story spreading, because they have to keep their House of Slaughter a secret from the public that monsters exist. So Gary's feeling bad that he might have to take his dogs out for a hunt and find Erica's body and burn her in the fire. It's like, it's almost like, damn, okay, who's the real monster here, the monsters or them? they're having a conflicting moment because they're having high hopes that Erica Slaughter would make it through. Cecilia shows up and you can just tell this girl's a bitch. More on her later though. Aaron is like, hi, happy, and Jesse's like, oh God, you caught me drunk. I don't like you seeing me like this. And he's like, dude, it's not the first time, because Cecilia back in issue 16 did not want Erica Slaughter there. And they're crying and Cecilia's just showing no emotion at all. And Aaron's like, you guys are talking like she's dead. She's not dead. I know she's not dead. He had faith in her. And keep in mind, Aaron gave her pointers on how to pass the test. So Gary goes into how it works with the House of Slaughter. You know, these days we pick kids we think are most likely going to survive the initiation. The mask, they refine their processes over the decades. And he's like, when Aaron's like, what, for people like me? Yes. And what we do is we bind the monsters to their totems, just like Erica, her monsters bind it to Octo, but they bind monsters who have never fed before because they're vicious, but they can be subdued. Initiation is all about creating a symbiosis between a monster and initiate, bonding their souls, forcing them to work together, but it's harder to build any connection with the creature that killed the people you love because that creature has the advantage and it wants more than anything is to feed. So Aaron's like, okay, well, back in the old days, that's how Erica would have been initiated, right? Using the monster that killed her family to initiate her. And Cecilia's like, yes, but that process left most initiates dead. That's why we refined it. And Aaron clapped back with her like, but not so many dead that the order died out, right? They're like, okay, Aaron, hypotheticals. I brought you here to teach you a lesson, and that's to clean up the mess of Erica Slaughter's body. And Jesse's like, dude, now you're just rubbing my failure in my face. Okay, now here's where the best moment of the book happened, in my opinion, when Erica's like, hey, people, what's up? And the look on their face is like, hey, all except for Cecilia, who has to cough and eat her own words. Yeah, that's right. How does it taste now? And Gary is so happy, picks her up like, get the steaks, we're having a party tonight. Jesse gives her a big hug. Everything's all good. They go back in the house to get coffee to kill off the drunkenness. And you can just tell Cecilia has no emotion to this at all. She just shakes her hand like, well done. I'm going to call the others and let them know that Erica Slaughter will be staying with us for the long haul. So get her mask ready. Aaron's like, okay. So he looks at her, he's like, they thought you couldn't do it, but I knew you could. And Erica's like, well, thanks. And he asked her, where are you going to get your tattoo? Because that's the thing. Once you pass the test, your initiation, you get a tattoo. So Gary gives Erica the tattoo. And he tells Erica this is one of his favorite part of the jobs. And they have this cool banter dialogue and getting to know each other, showing some levity. So he explains to her, the tattoo means you're a member of the Order of the St. George. From this day forward, you'll take our name of our house. So from now on, you'll be Erica Slaughter. That's really cool how she got her name. And you can tell her eyes go wide and it's just awesome. So he explains how it works. A few years down the line, when you're trained, you have to prove that you can kill a monster with the skills you've learned. And that's how you get the mask with the teeth. And we see a teenage Erica putting on the mask with the teeth because she did with that. And a few years after that, when you're almost done being a teenager, there's a final test. And when you pass that test, we'll perform the rite of trepanation on you, so you'll be able to keep seeing monsters when you become an adult. And then she gets that mark on her head for the trepanation. And then Erica's like, so then I'll be a hunter like Jessica? Pretty much, yeah. Now, I always wondered what were the colors of the mask and what each of the colors meant. And he goes into that. So the red masks, back in Chicago, you'll see a lot of them. They're like the Scarlet mask. They're the servant kids because they tend to the house and they change the sheets and serve your meals. But they're not just, bitches, their function is to keep the bookkeepers of the order and track the lives of all the hunters when things get messy. That's what they're there for. The black mask, which is what you are, what you're going to become, is the most thankless job because you're like the Swiss Army knife for the order. You're sent to hunt alone and train to take down monsters by yourself. Now we get to know who the white mask are, Cecilia. They are the pack hunters. Now we get to know why she's the way she is. They're trained to work together as a unit to hunt down some of the biggest monsters that pop up in the country. But Gary tells her, I'm going to tell you something that I don't ever want you to repeat. The white mask are the biggest a-holes in the order because they take down big game, so they think they're hot stuff. All that in a bag of chips. Truth be told, if any one of them found themselves alone with something halfway dangerous, they wouldn't be able to cope. Now, the blue mask, which is what he is, they built all the monster hunting weapons and handle all the tests of skill to make sure the hunters are safe. So these days, it means a lot of computer stuff, and Gary can make news story go away like that. Silver mask, They hunt more, you know, like the specialist kind of stuff, like werewolves and vampires and stuff like that. All more folktale. They're more popular in Asia, but not over here. And then they're the Emerald Mask. They are the dangerous hunters in the order. They hunt dragons. And Erica's like, oh, dragons are real. I want to see a dragon. And Gary's like, you and me both, kid. But it turns out, speak of the devil, Erica is going to meet the dragon. He's the leader of the Hoarder. And Gary takes a picture of Erica Slaughter's tattoo for the wall. Cecilia tells Erica to come with her. They walk throughout the house. Erica waves to Aaron. Aaron's like, hey girl, hey, but you meeting the dragon girl, so here you go. And it's a perfect scene where it's just dark and fire, just to kind of embody the dragon and set the tone for this. He, you know, brings down her wall a little bit, so to speak. He offers her gummy bears, and she's like, yeah, I like them. And he's like, ain't you told me about your stuffed animal? That's Octo. That it was his name, Octo. I don't know if that's his name anymore. He tells Erica, that was a powerful beast you tamed. You must be furious. And Octo, the monster that she killed before, that Jesse trapped in there, said, she bested me once before, but never again. I'll pick my teeth with her bones in the end. Well, that's the spirit. The dragon asks Erica, do you understand what happened in that barn today? She's like, well, I passed your test, but do you understand why? You should have died. You should have died either in that house when he attacked your parents and friend, or in that barn. It's quite remarkable that you didn't. I must say, you have a sharp edge and a tongue to you. And it's almost like, instead of praising that she conquered a mountain, it's almost like you must be a savage and a train wreck to conquer that kind of monster. And he tells her, I wager that your parents would know how to deal with you, and you got angry with them. She's like, well, it wasn't like that. And he gets more personal with, I bet they stayed up late at night talking about how they didn't know what to do with you, how to cope with you. No, then why else would you have passed that test? And then she's like, with her head down, I don't know if she's feeling shame about it or just being frustrated about it. She said, Jessica said I was perceptive. That was back in issue number 16. It was trying to get me to tell people that monsters existed, and I knew that you people didn't want people to know that. And she tells how she passed the test. It lied to me saying I could save my mom and dad, but I knew that they were already dead. And the dragon's like, well, if you had enough empathy in you, you would have done anything in your power to save them. Yeah, but they were already dead. It was a trick. No, you passed the test, little girl, because of what you are. And what you are is a monster. But our systems are clinical, and sometimes our recruits are too cold. And our house hasn't had someone like you in a very long time. You are a monster. Only a monster can kill monsters. You are meant to die, and you live because you are a monster. And to tame a creature as you have, that speaks to your power. And she's like, but I'm a little girl. I'm just a girl. Not anymore. It's a very, I mean, I think this is a clapback moment or a recall back moment to issue number 15 when he tells her that he was proud of her. He does have high hopes for her, and we get to know Erica Slaughter as a character. And I'm gonna leave a little meat on the bone for you guys in case you did decide to get a copy of this issue. Link in description, by the way, which I feel this is a great conclusion to who is Erica Slaughter. And I think it was the perfect amount of issues, 16, 17, 18, 19, 25 issues in total, to sum up her origin. It wasn't too long and it wasn't too short. Could have been shorter, perhaps, but it wasn't too long. And from what I gather with James Tynion IV, he shells out his writing, and I understand this is going to be a Netflix show. Perhaps he shelled it out for the Netflix to have something to go off of, but I thought this was great. You will not regret adding this to your personal collection. You will have a thoroughly enjoyable read. And my favorite part was the mask colors and their rankings of what their roles are. With that being said, Something is Killing the Children, issue number 20. What do you guys think of the comic book? Comment below, let me know. Also, if you like the content we're throwing up, you know what to do. Don't be shy and don't be stingy. Here at Rated Comics, we do awesome comic book reviews, comic book related content with the occasional comic book giveaway. Thanks again for watching. Until next time.